Hello, everybody, and
greetings, YouTube!
We are here with none other than the infamous Mr. Prof Hoff. How are you?
I love that word because it could mean like so many things, right? I'm great. I'm excited to talk to you and try to help your channel in any way I can.
Well, you do more for other people than I think you do for yourself. So
Israel wouldn't be one of those people.
I think she would agree with me on that.
Yes, she would.
So you have interviewed multiple famous MCOC YouTubers and somebody who was a former Kabam employee. So I thought it would be interesting to turn the tables and interview you. So that's what we're going to do. I have some questions from people that are very interested in what it is that brought you to YouTube and what you might want to do in the future.
Love it.
So, all right. First question from Triple Z. What advice would you give to someone who is growing a YouTube channel? Do's and don'ts.
Okay, so shout out Triple Z and his channel. I think if you try anything in life, but especially YouTube, to do it for the money, to clearly be somebody who turns their channel into like a bad version of church where you care more about the offering than the sermon, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And so the first thing you got to realize about growing a channel is you're going to be the worst that you're going to be when you start out because you've never done this before.
Yep.
And you can, I'm sure, attest to that. And so you want very few people to watch when you're like embarrassingly bad. But then as people choose to give you their time, and again, I'm saying time, not money. Think about it as time being valuable. You have the ability to respond to comments in live streams, to respond to comments on videos, to respond to emails and messages you get on places like Line and Discord and all the different communication metrics. So if you want to grow your community, you have to invest in the community. And that means I spent way more time responding to messages and people's questions the first 5 years I did YouTube than I ever spent playing the game or recording videos. And so the hidden cost of growing a channel is building a community, and you do that away from YouTube, not on your channel.
Yeah, I remember you talking about when we were done after Skype and whatever, and we would just talk, and you were like, well, I got to go respond to my 1,000 line messages. And I'm like, there's no way. No freaking way I could have the time to respond to that many messages. And I give you kudos for being able to do that.
Well, it wasn't healthy, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because between the videos and the amount of videos I was producing, the messages, and my quote-unquote real job, I was putting an average 120 hours a week work of commitment to both. And so I was sleeping, when my channel was at its busiest a couple years ago, I was sleeping not more than 3.5 hours a night.
It's crazy.
And it did almost kill me. And the problem is, when I'm actually recording videos and I'm doing the thing, I'm as relaxed as I've ever been. It kind of reminds me of like when professional athletes say the games they do for free, the workouts and the practices and like the community volunteering sessions, that's what they get paid to do. The games are free. And so to me, when you make money on YouTube, you're getting paid to grow a community, not really post videos. And so if people just think that you can do nothing besides post videos and then your channel will take off, maybe for some people that works, but for most people it isn't, and it's because they aren't thinking about what really matters most, and that's growing a community that even if the game goes away, you know, you'll still have friendships and messages, and you may not make any money anymore, but that's okay. You still have a bunch of like people that you can talk to, because as you get older as an adult, it's harder to make new good friends. Most of the friends you have as an adult are friends you had in college or high school or people you've known for decades. And so when you have an opportunity to make new friends, it's really exciting, but it takes work.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I don't have any friends.
Oh, hey, I know at least one of your friends, and every time I call, it goes to vibrate.
Oh, hush. All right. Pedrothos, how does a guy from New Mexico end up in the journalism program at Mizzou and eventually land a job at Oklahoma being a professor?
All right, Pedro, first off, fantastic question. I appreciate the fact that you know that about me. My story is a combination of luck, kindness from friends and strangers, and what I call the Barry Sanders effect. So you can call this the Walter Payton effect. Any great running back is an analogy, but my belief, and we're not going to make this an overly preachy video because Mama Bear and I both are people who want to love anybody who comes by. We don't want you to have to be a certain race or religion or political views in order to say hello. We want to give everybody a chance. So, I'm not saying that you have to agree with the statement that I'm just about to say, but this is what I've learned in my own personal life. And if you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, I believe there are moments in your life where God puts doors in front of you, and you have to, one, recognize that that door is there, and two, have the courage to step through it, not knowing what's on the other side, but trusting that whatever's on the other side is going to improve your life. Mm-hmm. You did that when you agreed. I can't tell you. People have asked me this for years. Maybe you have a better memory of it than I do. I can't remember. Did I invite you on to Skype the first time we did it? Because I had never done that before, so it's not like that was
No. I had just been. I think it was just not too long after the dreaded Twitch days.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And it was either Matthew Robertson or somebody else who I can't, but they were very active at the time with the game and with your channel. I think they no longer play. But they just kept saying, like, have Mama Skype in, have Mama Skype in. And eventually you were just like, okay, let's do it. And then that's how it all started.
It became something that we both got excited and looked forward to. And we kind of had a podcast unofficially because obviously we'd be answering questions, but we'd still be talking. But that's an example of you taking a risk. You usually could have been like, no, I don't want to do it, or I'll do it once. But, you did something outside your comfort zone. And I would like to think that those Skype calls actually made you more comfortable talking on camera. And that might have played a role in your confidence when you started your own channel.
Yes.
And yet you never would have imagined by agreeing to that you would one day have your own channel or even have the desire to make a video. And so that is a long-winded way of answering the original question, because I had a dream to write and to cover sports. I wanted to be a sports journalist, and I found out in 7th grade that the #1 school for journalism was the University of Missouri, so that's the only place I applied at all. And it was really dumb for me to do that because single parent, very low income, food stamps, government housing subsidies. My mom never made more than like $15,000 in a year. And so she could not afford to pay a penny for us to go to school. So I missed every scholarship by 1 point on the ACT, which meant that I had to take out $30,000 of student loans just to step foot on campus. And as a parent who's looking at student loan offers and other things, you would imagine your fear if there were no scholarships in that letter and you had to take out $30,000 of loans just to get your kid into an out-of-state campus. Most people, including yourself, will probably say, not happening, you're an idiot, right?
Right.
On pay, I could have stayed in New Mexico and gotten paid to get my degree because of my poor background and my great grades through the New Mexico lottery. But I chose to give all that up to chase a dream that was crazy. And so that analogy is pretty appropriate to my YouTube channel growth too, because I started with a dream, had no plan. It was all trial and error, and it was mostly error at the beginning. But when I was set to graduate from Mizzou, I had an academic advisor that wrote down that I took a class that I didn't actually take.
Oh, God.
So imagine you're getting ready to graduate and they're like, so I'm your new advisor and I looked at your transcript and it turns out that someone made a clerical error, so you actually can't graduate until next semester.
And you're devastated.
Because every scholarship I had earned in the 4 years I was at Missouri was a 4-year scholarship, so none of them carried over for this extra semester. But again, there are times where there are going to be moments in your life that things feel like they're curses, but they can still be blessings.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you found out you were pregnant, that was one of them.
I am a firm believer in the very typical phrase, everything happens for a reason. And you might not know what that reason is right then and there, or 6 months or 2 years, but eventually it comes back and you figure out why that happened.
Yeah. And my favorite version of that is you can't appreciate the rainbows if there isn't any rain in your life. That's why people think that the best thing that can ever happen to you is like to win the lottery. But if you don't have any motivation to work because you never need to want again at a certain point, if you don't have a family and you don't have kids and you don't have good friends, and also the people who are coming after you just want to get your money, suddenly you're more miserable than when you were broke.
Right.
And so at the same way, like, I was so mad and scared about taking off a lot more student loans because I'd financially been able to figure out how to support myself by the time I graduated college. But then that got me into this program called the McNair Scholars Program for first-generation college students and minorities for graduate school, something I'd never considered. And Oklahoma State recruited me to go to their graduate program and to be a McNair Scholar, and they offered me a full ride to get my master's.
There you go.
But y'all, I thought I would be in Oklahoma for 2 years. I knew nothing about the state. I am proudly not from here. I knew that Oklahoma played in the first bowl game ever, the Dust Bowl. Everybody lost. And I also knew that they had tornadoes, and tornadoes suck. Yes. And so if you ever come to Oklahoma, it will freak you out. In Chicago, you can walk down the street, you can smile at a stranger, and you can get shot. In Oklahoma, in Oklahoma, you smile at a stranger and they smile back and they say, hey, would you like some money? And you look at them like, is this a cult? And it is a cult in a way. But I couldn't figure out why. It really feels like when you visit here, we're even called, Stillwater, Oklahoma is called America's friendliest college town, and they take it very seriously. You get off the plane and it's the first thing that greets you in your airport. So I was kind of freaked out. And then one day I realized when Oklahoma was under a hail, fire, earthquake, wind, and tornado warning all at the same time.
Okay.
That Oklahoma is basically, when it comes to the weather, the book of Revelation. And so everybody who lives here wakes up every day knowing that today's probably going to be it.
This could be the end. Live it to the fullest.
So you have to live also on your best behavior because your behavior is about to be judged by Jesus in like 5 minutes. So that's why people are so friendly here, because they know that the illusion of being a human on this planet is so fleeting.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed.
So that's how I became a college professor. It was partially, really only because of a clerical error from an academic advisor.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Legacy 2999. 999. What stuff would you like to do on your channel after MCOC?
Another great question. I am currently in the works with that. The thing that I love doing the most to my channel, that even the biggest haters of my skills and knowledge and face and expertise and all this stuff enjoyed my interview series, the same thing that I think you're being inspired to interview me right now. And so what I've learned from going back to New Mexico and giving back to my hometown, and the greatest honor of my life was going back to a bunch of poor kids when I was a poor kid and saying you don't have to be poor forever. And YouTube, you can be at best a D-list YouTuber that no one's ever heard of. And if you make a crazy amount of videos and you save all your money, then when you meet the love of your life, you can buy her a house and be retired at 35. And yet nobody knows who you are and nobody would ever stop you in the grocery store.
Yeah.
That is the greatest story ever. Because if you're like a Taylor Swift level of fame, nobody's going to either want that or think that's obtainable, because it's not. But if you make a bunch of channels on a game nobody's heard of and very few people watch, and you still buy a house, that's a story people can be like, well, I'm more handsome than that guy, and I'm more knowledgeable than that guy, and I think I probably got better editing skills than that guy. So if this channel did that, imagine what I could do. And that's my message. My best message to people is if I can do it, just imagine what you could do.
Right. For
So
sure.
I'm going to interview celebrities, and one of the first people that I'm trying to interview is one of the founding members, as you know, of Dude Perfect, the billion-viewed YouTube channel, because a mentor, somebody that I'm actually mentoring that's much older than I am and much more successful than I am in the TV business, his son-in-law is Kobe from Dude Perfect, and I'm just going to start this resilience interview series where I get people to talk about the things they overcame to make it to where they were, who they had to thank, and then what their advice is for the next generation of people who maybe, especially after COVID, the first time that they struggle, they just give up. Because, you and I were talking about when you grew up, you couldn't wait to get a driver's license at 16.
Oh, I went and got my license on my 16th birthday.
And I'm sure that you had some job or income or some ability to buy gas, and I don't know if you had to pay for insurance or whatnot, but like in your generation, the way to make it out of the house was to get a driver's license and work.
Yeah, I did not have to pay insurance, but I paid for gas, and I had my first job at, well, other than like a paper route when you're a kid, but I had my first real job at 15.
So that is, I would say, not uncommon for people your age. I'm sure you
Right.
knew a lot of people who did that too at 16. But your kids' generation could just stay home and play video games all day with their friends online.
They could, but they are not allowed to. I mean, when they turn 16, okay, if there's things you want, you have to go get a job and you have to start making money to pay for it.
Because you are a good parent who also can, even if you wanted them to not have to work, you couldn't afford to.
Right. Right.
But a lot of the students that I teach that are wealthy have never worked a day in their life, and they could be 22.
That's crazy to me.
And so then they've never failed. They've never been criticized. They've been in this bubble. And so if you're watching this and you're a parent of young kids, the worst thing you could do for them is shelter them and not let them fail, because they're gonna fail eventually. You cannot stop that. And the first time that they fail, if they're 22 and they're starting out in their dream job and their boss rips them a new one, instead of being like, well, dang it, I need to improve, they're gonna cry in their car and quit.
Yep.
And so this interview series is going to be hopefully a way to inspire young people who are maybe not happy with their current situation to not give up, but to chase their dreams like I did, because I had no plan, no money, and no path, and now look at where I am at now, 36.
That's awesome. Very good. All right. Rob Horowitz, 5095. What is your favorite moment in game, and what has been your most fun so far in game or off game on the camera in the stream?
Okay, so in the stream. So there are a lot of questions there, Rob. Thank
Yeah.
you for those. I actually met Rob in person, one of the few people that I've met in person outside the game, and that is its own experience. I cannot wait for you to do that more with people that you've never even met that are like, are you Mama Bear, the Mama Bear? Like, instead of asking you that on like a chat and global.
Yeah. It's very weird.
It is, but it's also really fun. It's like I said, it's the perfect amount of fame. You're not really famous, but you
Right.
get to pretend to be in a niche community nobody's ever heard of.
Right.
So my favorite moment in the game, in terms of like excitement, was when I finally got Stark Spidey on the hunt. That was when a 5-star hunt, when this community was on fire and I was making up series as I went along. A 5-star hunt could get 10,000 views. You couldn't get I couldn't get that for 10 7-star hunts now combined.
Right.
And so when that happened, I felt like I had not just won the game, but I had won it life. Like, I could have been shot walking out of my house the next minute, and I've been like, I got 5-star Stark Spidey. I'm good. In terms of the live stream, I mean, I think we've had so many hilarious moments. The origin of stuff like Bark the Chicken was amazing. I'll never forget when your son had not hit puberty yet, and you just heard, pound it! Those are both great. But for so many reasons, some exciting and others scarring, the night that the game went down and I had agreed to do a shot per donation stream to raise money for a new computer on the channel, because at that point I started with equipment that was older than yours. I raised over $1,000 in 3 hours while the game was down the entire time, but I was so willing to make my subscribers happy that one of them said, "The next time you take a shot, you should take off your shirt." Now, notice I was not doing anything that would be more than something you'd see on a PG movie at the beach, but I'd still never taken off my shirt. Normally I get paid to put more clothes on. And so I did that, and for the first and last time, Brian Grant, comments in the comments and goes, "This is the first time I've been here." And he never came back. His wife did a couple times, but he never did.
And well, can you blame him?
No! I mean, that's... I looked up to him so much, and I shouted him out, and for him to be in my channel made me feel like I had been seen for the first time in my life. And for him to look at me and like, well, this guy's all about the naked truth, I guess. But shout out to Brian Grant, because we do share one of our favorite video games of all time, which was just remastered in 2023, and that is Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm so glad I wasn't there for that video.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't been. It was definitely an out-of-body experience that you want to be part of.
All right, the infamous Exit 27.
Best editor ever.
Absolutely. So jealous of that man's talent.
Me too.
Are there MCOC content creators that you watch? And if so, who is your favorite?
So, of course, I think my channel would be nothing without the people who came from before me and after me. And I still keep up with Rich the Man. I still keep up with Seaton. I still keep up with Lagacy and sometimes Brian Grant. The person who's helped me the most, though, on my channel is KT1. The way I think about it, he looked at my channel as this mom and pop sort of like, I don't want to call it pathetic, but definitely like not professional channel. And he looked at it and was like, I got better skills than this guy. I can make as many videos as he makes. So he took my template, my recipe for success, and then just made it way better. And, you know, they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but I just looked at his channel and was like, now that's an MCOC channel. Mine is like a fun, normal, everyday kind of person, but his is like a lot of what makes Seaton's great mixed with more content. So KT has become my favorite because he's also been so kind as to give me advice. He even tried to improve my thumbnails, but it just wasn't going to work.
Oh, your thumbnails are great.
They're not, I would say they're good. They're not great. His are great, but mine are serviceable for the amount of time I have to make them. And, you know, if you can make it a really good thumbnail, but it takes you 20 minutes, or you can make a serviceable thumbnail that takes you 20 seconds, Israel knows I can do a lot in 20 seconds. But don't ask me to go 20 minutes, or else it'll be very disappointing.
I love KT1 also.
Yeah, he's been great to you too. He's always supported you.
Enslane 9.
Shout out.
If you had to start over, knowing what you know now about YouTube and MCOC, would you do anything different?
Honestly, no, because I should have never been successful. I should have always not been successful. I was determined to never, ever make money on this because I didn't think I was worth watching. And so when I made my video against Seaton and his disrespect of Quake, which I will say this, the only thing I've been waiting for, and the man has never, he's been very nice to me when I met him. I have nothing but nice things to say about Seaton personally and professionally, but he never said that I was right. And yet he changed Quake's position on his tier list from demigod to beyond god tier, and still stuck by his original video that I attacked, which was that Void was the first beyond god tier science champion ever. And Seaton, you got to know, bud, There's a reason why Void is now a 7-star and Kabam has never nerfed him, but refuses to make Quake a 6-star. And that thinking years later by Kabam supports the notion that Quake is in a different broken tier than Void ever will be. So history proved me to be right. Did I do it the right way? No. I took his thumbnail, put a big X over it, and was like, I disagree. I didn't even know that was like a chance to mess up somebody's copyright. I had no idea that if you take somebody's thumbnail and you alter it, that's technically like ripping them off. So that was embarrassing for me to figure that out. So that part of it I wouldn't do again. But actually taking the risks and being like, there's this random professor nobody's ever heard of that's not even good at the game, but he thinks he knows more about the science class than the great Seton himself. I mean, that was a lot of fun to look back on and be like, I can't believe I had the stupidity, the balls, whatever you want to call it, to take him on as somebody who had far less subscribers than you do now. But sometimes you've got to take a risk to get people's attention. And if I had just played it safe and if I had never made a video to offend anybody, then I would have been forgotten because nobody wants to watch a channel that isn't true to themselves and doesn't take risks.
Right. You are a risk taker. I will give you that.
Oh, yeah. You don't ask out a beautiful girl like Israel if you're not ready for rejection.
This is true. All right. Jason RL.
Shout out.
Is it possible for you to ignore the negative comments in videos? It always seems like the 10% minority of haters spoil the 90% of positive responses. How do you deal with negative comments?
Great question. So about a year ago, I realized that I had to take a step back if I wanted to propose to Israel, which I did shortly after this kind of come to Jesus moment for my channel. And I realized that there were certain things that I just had to cut out of my life, or else I was going to have to walk away from YouTube altogether because I wasn't going to be able to sustain any of the work that I'd done. And so I told myself, you're going to lose subscribers, you're going to lose revenue, you're probably going to have your channel shrink considerably. But the two things you've got to stop doing to save your mental health and time is to create videos after live streams. I used to record 3 to 5 videos, Mama, between midnight and 2 a.m. every single night.
That's insane.
And I did it for every day for 5 straight years.
That's insane.
It was, and yet I did it, but it wasn't sustainable. So I stopped doing that, and yes, the revenue almost immediately dropped, but I was more relaxed and happier, which was priceless. And then I would always either delete the negative comments if they were really rude or try to respond to them. But they were impacting my mental health so much, especially when people didn't even watch the video and from a title or a thumbnail would just comment what they thought I said, which was not true at all most of the time. I just said, I have mods for a reason. They will be able to look over the comments and be able to either delete the worst of the ones or respond to the ones that maybe aren't true. But I left that to my mods and stopped responding to most comments. I still try to do that when I can, but that's how I managed to still be able to do YouTube 6 years after I started this channel. Was I had to cut down how many comments I read and also how many videos I made at night.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were really, really close to being burned out.
I was. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
I had accomplished every goal of my YouTube channel times 10,000 by the end of 2019. And so at the beginning of 2020, I actually told some friends, yeah, I'm done on YouTube. 2020 is going to be a year. New decade, new me. Let's move to something else. And then when the pandemic hit and suddenly I was at home in Oklahoma, I think it was 3 straight months, I had more time than ever to make videos. And 2020, 2021, and 2022 were back to back to back the 3 greatest years of my channel. And it was because I was forced to make content. But again, when the restrictions were lifted, it was not a healthy decision for me to keep up that level of content. It was healthy for me to figure out how to find a balance. And now there are some days where I do literally less than 10% of the work that I did on a daily basis for the community and for this channel that I did 2 years ago. And yeah, that means I make 10% the revenue. Imagine you're used to making $100 a day on YouTube, and then you wake up one day and you made $4.23.
Yeah.
And then YouTube tells you in the message, minus 95% from this time a year ago. That is designed to make you feel like a loser and a failure. But when I bought my fiance her dream house with cash, thanks to YouTube revenue, because I saved basically 100% of my paychecks that didn't go to Uncle Sam for 5 straight years because I didn't really view it as my money because I couldn't believe it even existed. And every day I kind of waited for it to go away and have this all be like the greatest weird dream of my life. I knew that it was needed to help other people. And once I bought that house, I thought, I don't need to make another penny on YouTube ever again to be a success. So now every video I make, every donation I get, everything, it's a bonus. It's like a victory lap. And when I went to New Mexico and I got honored at my high school and college as somebody who made it out and is no longer poor and in some level is famous to somebody, it was, again, a feeling like I had completed my journey and now I'm just here to help other people be even more successful than I was.
Yeah. Amazing. YouTube user. Do you ever think about Bark the Chicken and other classics like the jazz that were taken away from you by rogue music buyers?
Oh, I mean, I miss the jazz.
We all miss the Prof Hoff jazz.
Well, and this is new. This can be news to Mom Bear, but it's relevant to your question. So last night, for the first time, and I want to say at least 2.5 years, because Israel and I have been dating since December of 2022. I played the Triplet song, which is a parody of the classic song "My Girl." And then this morning, for the first time in 2.5 years, or since I took down the jazz, I got a copyright email saying that the monetization of that broadcast had been canceled because I played that song.
Shut up!
Yeah, and it's a parody. And it's still like, now, I mean, look, a live stream in terms of views, you make like maybe 30 cents. So I don't care about losing 30 cents, but it was just a reminder of the system and the way that it detects even parodies of classic tunes. So, yeah, I miss being able to play the jazz and not worrying about getting that email, but it's also this golden era of the channel and of YouTube before the algorithm changed. And really, my channel started to die quite quickly when YouTube Shorts were introduced, because my channel's videos were often watched by people who were recommended my videos, and that was the real estate on the homepage of YouTube that was replaced by YouTube Shorts when you scroll down.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's another lesson, y'all. If you want to be successful on YouTube, enjoy every second. But if one thing changes, you could be essentially hidden or shadow banned from the homepage, and no one can find you. And that's on top of notifications not working 80 to 90% of the time.
Yeah. Oh boy. Anime guy 1823. Hey Prof, I have been watching you for years and you are by far the best and most fun MCOC YouTuber God has created.
Okay, most fun, maybe. Best, laughable. Thank you for saying that. It is not remotely true. And I would have to have the biggest, most out-of-touch ego to agree with 1% of that. But thank you. That is a very kind way to start over. I don't want to not take your compliment, but objectively, it's just not true.
However,
I
just want to know if we will ever get another pizza review. We as a community would love to relive the old school Prof Hoff pizza reviews.
I think by we, it might be like you and 2 other people. When the opportunity presents itself, yes. I don't. These things happen organically. I get an email saying try the new Little Caesars deep dish pizza or the new Pizza Hut, triple stuffed crust pizza. So yes, if the opportunity is there, I will take it, but I will not force it to happen. It has to happen on its own.
Right. Yeah. It would have to be some amazing pizza. That's all I'm saying.
No matter how you slice it.
Absolutely. There was another really good one. Oh, Hoopster. This is kind of a redundant, or like a silly question. Do you think the economy of the game has changed?
I would say the economy of the game has changed forever.
Yeah.
At least 17 times in 2024 alone.
Yeah. It's been, the first quarter for this game has been insane.
So I I take this stuff seriously because when Kabam does something like take the price tag of Tier 5 Basic and Tier 2 Alpha down to pennies on the dollar, it's because they're not trying to be nice. They're clearing our expectations for the next thing they want us to spend money on, like Tier 4 Alpha Catalyst fragments.
Right.
And so sometimes people just say, Prof, Kabam is being amazing. They're being so nice. And I'm like, you don't see the bigger picture of the way that this is changing the economy of the game itself. And so I borrowed that phrase from Kabam because they would say it on every change for a forum post. And so I said it sort of mocking Kabam, but then quite a few people thought I was always serious when I said that.
Right.
And so then it became like, wow, this guy is being very dramatic to say the economy of the game has changed forever. But the truth is, I every time I say it, it's both an inside joke, and I honestly, wholeheartedly believe it, because the economy of the game just means that prices of something are going down because something new is about to go up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, remember when we used to, have to spend $100 for a Tier 5 Basic?
No, I remember when Tier 5 Basic came out, we spent $100 for 10% of
Well,
one.
yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
Remember when 20 generic 6-star 6 stones cost $100?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
And
so
now you can get them. Now you can get 50 of them for 10.
Or when you become Valiant, you can get 50 of them for 5,000 trophy tokens.
It's insanity to me.
It's the greatest deal in the history of MCOC, and that changed the economy of the game forever more than anything in my book.
Yes, absolutely. I have a question that I have been wanting to ask you, and oddly enough, even all of our conversations that we've had, I never have.
So. Oh, okay. Count me as intrigued. Also, she's not a journalist, but she just gave a fantastic journalism teaser to this question.
Oh, well, nice segue that I did right there, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so the first time that you came to Chicago to visit, my family thought that I was batshit crazy for having somebody come to my house that I had never met, that I had only spoken to, and all of these things. Did your family have any reservations, or did you have any reservations about the first time you came to Chicago? Other than possibly getting shot, by some random stranger, not me.
Or seeing the traffic, which continues to be some of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. I was understandably hesitant, but
yeah,
I trusted you and I trusted your kids. I was worried about your mom because I knew that I'd meet her, and it was going to be hard to explain to people who I was.
Right.
And I thought to myself, is there going to be a moment where people think I'm her boyfriend? And then when we went to watch your kids play football and I heard somebody ask a question like that, like, who's your new man?
Yeah.
That was definitely something that I was worried about that came to fruition. But my safety was never worried about because I trusted you all. And honestly, it went great. I also will say that it was not my biggest risk by any means. That was when I was Zachary Savoy and his lovely fiance, now bride's guest of honor. The first time they ever met me was at their wedding. And I had to stay at multiple houses on multiple couches because I was still poor enough back then to not really be able to justify my own Airbnb or even an Uber. And so that was very crazy. And I remember I was on the plane telling people what I was about to do, and they're like, you might get off the plane and get kidnapped. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that could happen. They're like, I would not be doing this. And I'm like, I am on the plane. I am not going to turn around.
Like, I can't turn around now.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to literally wing it and see what happens. And somebody on the plane was so worried about my safety that they drove me to the house to drop me off and made sure that I gave them a thumbs up before they drove away. And they'd only known me for 3 hours on the flight from Oklahoma to California.
That's crazy.
But that's just
Oklahomans really are nice people, aren't they?
Well, and it's an example of the God putting a door in front of you, but you got to step through it. On paper, this is not a door that you should even have a key for, nevertheless open. And yet, one of the coolest moments of my life.
Yeah.
You want to talk about feeling like you've made it when you're a guest of honor at someone's wedding and people are coming up to you asking you questions because they can't believe you actually showed up? Like, how many people in their life get to do something like that? So if I got murdered, totally worth it.
I mean, I wasn't nervous, but like you said, it's just you're meeting somebody that we've had spoken on the phone, who knows how many times,
Mm-hmm.
but it's different, than just meeting them in person. I mean, that was back in the days when the boys and I would all sit on the couch together and we would have your live stream up on the big TV in the living room.
Yeah.
And we would all watch the stream together.
No, that was such a great era of the channel. And most people, including your kids, they don't play the game either anymore or definitely to the level that they did during that era.
Right.
And so my channel is very confusing because most of the people that supported me and made it grow so much have left the game. And the only time my channel grows right now is like if I go to a high school and a bunch of people are like, I want to subscribe to him, but they don't play the game.
Yeah.
So the numbers are hilariously fraudulent because there's no reason for them to ever watch an MCOC video. So people are like, how does he have so much subscribers? People meet me and they like me, but they're never going to watch my videos. So,
right.
I know what's going on. I'm not here to. I'm not trying to downplay my success. It's just the reality of what it is in 2024. And as somebody that's fixing to get married and wants to spend far more time with my fiance, soon-to-be wife, than I ever have before, I have to say goodbye to YouTube in the way that I've known it to be. And this has been the perfect way to find the balance without going from 0 to 180 back to 0.
Well, you're very fortunate in the fact that she supports.
Oh yeah.
Your YouTube channel, and she supports your ambition in that, and
she's so great to be on camera herself, and people love to say her for, and she's attractive and fun, and makes everything better. No, I've been engaged once before, which was right when my channel started.
Yeah.
And she would not have allowed me to even have a YouTube account. She would have forbid me as her husband to post any video over anything, I think.
No, that's messed up. I mean, you can't, no, wrong. We're glad she's gone.
I was engaged to somebody who was not a fan of puns or sarcasm.
Oh, God.
But that has made me appreciate Israel even more, and every time that we get to be together on camera or in a video, I just feel like my dream woman is, again, sitting next to me because she is.
Yes. Okay, this is actually from my son, TZ Wizard. What is one champ? You're going to have to probably whip out your phone for this. Whip it out.
I was going to say, I've never heard you use that phrase about.
Not with you.
No, you don't have a magnifying glass on hand.
What is one champ from every class in the game that you want buffed?
Okay, great question. And I don't actually think I even need to pull this out because I have so much useless knowledge in my head that I should be able to answer this without looking at... All
right, let's start with science.
Okay, so I still think when it comes to the science class that a champion that should be way better than they are, like they should be one of the greatest champions in the history of the game, and they are still pretty mid, is Luke Cage.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think Luke Cage should be the Destroyer meets Absorbing Man.
Meets Absorbing Man?
Yeah!
Okay.
Like, to me, like, that's the utility. Luke Cage should be such a great defender and a tank on offense. He should be, like, the same tank on offense as Hulkbuster. But since Luke Cage has already been buffed, and people might say that answer is a cop-out, OG Captain America. OG. Not World War II. OG. Yeah. Needs to be the perfect block master. He needs to be somebody that takes no damage again And he used to be. There used to be a perfect block synergy team, and then it was nerfed years ago.
Oh God.
And now he needs to be back because with the way the game has evolved, he's not going to be too powerful if he takes perfect block. He's just going to last a long time, and that's not going to be somebody you want for Battlegrounds because he won't get the kill fast enough.
Right.
But he's going to be somebody that's like the survivability MVP, and he deserves such a massive buff. All the OG Avengers do, but he's number one. Okay, so that's my science. Who's next?
I'm going with Sentry.
Okay, yeah, well, again, he's had multiple buffs and is still a century of disappointment.
He still sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, skill.
All right, this one, the real hot take is I still want OG Black Widow to return to her previous form because she was God tier and is now maybe the utility in certain matchups like against Thing of Demigod, but not even that.
She's still crappy.
My favorite skill champion because of his Awaken ability that I think should have the crits of Hitmonkey with the utility of himself without worrying about True Strike, because that was also BS, is OG Daredevil.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm either going with Hawkeye.
Okay.
Because the only good thing about him is the special one with the power.
Well, Hawkeye and I have a lot in common because we never have perfect releases.
Or Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight, his entire fight, he should be in full moon phase. Yeah.
No, especially when he's awakened at Sig 200.
I think he would be much better.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, what's the next class?
Mutate.
All right, well, even though I always got wrecked against him, and small shout out, even though we've seen some incredible gameplay, to KT1's answer to this question, which was Jubilee, because he believes Jubilee should be even better, and she should be, and that's also one of Israel's favorites. You can't argue that Beast is a joke.
He is a joke. He's awful.
So Beast is my answer. What will be your answer?
I'm going with Deadpool.
Oh yeah. And Deadpool X-Force is probably the Deadpool you're referring to, the one we can actually get in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I have a 5-star regular Deadpool, but Deadpool X-Force should be so much better.
No question. All right, next class.
Cosmic.
All right. It would have been Inferior Iron Man, but since Kabam finally did it, shout out to the Godfather.
Yep.
Because in the spirit of the comic version, give us a Kamala Khan that's exciting to land on and doesn't feel like you've lost the wind. And of course, everybody's going to say Groot, but Groot's the easy choice. I'm going Kamala Khan. How about you?
I think I would agree with you. Either Kamala Khan or Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. Phoenix should be a million times better, and so should Heimdall.
Right? I mean, really, the only thing good with Heimdall are the synergies.
Yeah, but again, if your main positive is being something that has nothing to do with your actual kit, that's a problem.
And OG Thor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Limp Hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a given. Oh, shit. Okay, next is Tech.
All right, so years ago, this was OG Iron Man and Hulkbuster. They both have received buffs. But personally, and Red Skull, shout out Stephen Burris was also in this. Personally, the champion in Tech that I still think should be at least 10 times better, and I refuse to look at him as the buff that he's had, is Rocket Raccoon. But I cannot say this with a straight face without saying that the hardest thing I've ever done in describing to people how this game makes champions that are great in the comics
terrible
in real life is Kang. Kang
Kang.
Wang doesn't conquer his own trousers. Nevertheless, planets.
Right.
And we also have to bring up Thanos for the cosmic competition.
Yes.
If people go from the comics to this game and see Thanos, they'll delete it just out of the disrespect that Thanos has in his kit.
Correct.
And I don't blame
the Thanos should be 5,000 times % better than what he is. Yeah.
Thanos should be way better than I think Maestro in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanos should have been the top prize for like exploring the abyss. That might have actually gotten me tempted to do it if he was really good, but instead it was just a joke and a greater gifting crystal. Is that all 6 classes, or are we missing? We're missing Mystic.
Yeah, just Mystic is next.
Okay, I thought we were missing one. So Mystic is another example of a class that has improved. It used to be Juggernaut, but
Juggy.
in the spirit of that, I think the no-brainer version is Stoppable Colossus. Give us a reason to spend loyalty that gets really exciting. And then I think one of my favorite champs that just needs a little bit of a tweak to be God tier is Iron Fist. I think if you make his armor breaks last even longer and maybe up his crits even more, he could be like Hitmonkey, but is the Mystic class.
I'm going with Loki.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great answer, too. Shout out DTA, who still thinks Loki's the greatest champ. I know he would argue with people till they told him he deserved to, like, not be here.
I mean, I respect people that like these not popular champs and argue their greatness, if you will. I just don't think there's much great about Loki.
Okay.
He's sad. He's very sad. All right. Well, those are all of the questions that I have. And you know what? We're at 3 minutes, or we're at just shy of an hour, so we're doing awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to pass along to the viewers, and any advice that you would like to give them?
Well, I mean, I'm on this gratitude tour right now where because I got honored at my hometown, because I've gotten to speak to kids and really feel passionate about what I've been able to do, not just for my own life, but for so many others. I want to say thank you, not just to the people who continue to support my channel or who did at one point, but to thank you to you as well, Mama Bear. The reason why I'm doing this so excitedly is that my channel would not be where it's at without you. And we had so many laughs and so many fun times. And you and I have had a lot of very difficult personal days behind the scenes in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And some of the only times we've gotten to laugh and just relax have been on live streams.
Yep.
And so I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported my channel, because regardless of whether or not it goes away in the future or it never gets back to where it was 2-3 years ago, it will be the thing I'm most proud of in my life that I will be able to say for the rest of my life. I bought my fiance a house thanks to YouTube, thanks to making videos about a video game. But more than that, I just want to say that this community, this global community, has given me hope in humanity, because there are so many kind people from all over the world who just want to hang out. And that's my best advice to everybody who wants to start a channel, is if you have a community, even if you make $0 worth of revenue, it'll be priceless, because you'll make new friends and people that you get excited about and people who get excited to see you. And in an age where loneliness truly is an epidemic, a YouTube community is the best way to combat that, also without having to leave your house. So it's pandemic proof, and I think that I will be able to say for the rest of my life that I was a success on YouTube. And it wasn't a traditional success, because like my puns, if you look at the amount of videos I made, it's quantity over quality, but it got the job done. It made me so happy and so fulfilled, and it got me a promotion at work. And now I'm looking to start, speaking of another answer to Legacy's question, a YouTube Academy, maybe in the summers at my university, to help get young people excited to start their own channels, from how they edit to what they play to thumbnails to learning OBS, all the things that I've now done moderately well in about 6 years, I can pass on to the next generation. So that's what I'm most excited about. But
I should take that class.
You know, but here's the funny thing is, when you take a class, you have to train yourself to like think academically and be on your best behavior. And you took a different class, which was called Be on Skype every night and learn to feel like you're not even being recorded. So you did. You took a better version of it without even knowing.
My biggest advice to anybody who wants to start a YouTube channel is don't go into it and be one person on camera and then somebody else off camera.
Well, and that's not only great advice, but that's the reason why I wasn't really worried about going to Chicago, because I knew that the same person I was going to meet was the same person I talked to every night on Skype, and vice versa.
Yes.
And I think that that was very clear to both of us that we are who we are, and that's why we've been moderately successful, because people can see fakeness from a mile away.
Yep.
And I told the students this a couple weeks ago in New Mexico. I said, the world doesn't want a worse version of whatever influencer you look up to. They want the first you, but you aren't going to be able to give them that until you believe that you're good enough to have a voice as a whole. And when I remember talking to you about a YouTube channel, you used to say, why would anyone ever watch me?
Yeah. I still don't understand it because I suck at the game. I don't know if I have a very short attention span. So like I'll do a live stream and at 45 minutes, besides my back hurting, I'm like, God, I can't play this game anymore. So then the end of my live streams were always just sitting and talking. And people still come to the live streams and I'm extremely grateful for that. I mean, I consider, everybody friends and I don't understand it though.
Well, and I don't either, but the beautiful thing is you don't have to. It is what it is.
Right.
It's this thing that doesn't really make sense logically, and strangers will look at you with skepticism, understandably, but it exists.
Yeah.
And on this planet, in this life, we just get one shot, and yes, this one opportunity is wasted by so many people who never take risks because they just want somebody to tell them what to do.
Right.
And when you go out on your own, another thing about YouTube is you're your own boss.
Yeah.
You don't answer to anybody but yourself. And there's something freeing about that if you're only used to working for like a supervisor.
Right. Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. I had a great time. I hope you did too.
Oh, yeah.
And Prof streams every night, basically at 9 o'clock Central Time. So make sure that you guys always stop by. Live streams, I think, are the best part of YouTube.
No doubt.
They're better than videos. The interaction is just what is the best part about it. So make sure everybody stops by, and thank you again, sir. And we will see you all soon.
Thanks again for listening, y'all, and Mama for having me on.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.